It's Cheap Homesteading here, and I'm in the garage today, and I'm making a chain for my MS250 chainsaw. I bought this a little while ago, and I haven't been using it because I need a new chain for it. And I didn't feel like going to the dealer and getting them to get me one because they always want so much. Any bit of money I save buying the chainsaw is going to be dwindled away buying parts. So today I'm going to make my own chain for it. I tracked down some bulk chainsaw chain, and we're going to make a chain to fit it. And I'll have quite a bit extra, so I can make a chain for my Husky, and I can make a chain for my stihl quite a few times for the same price it would be to buy like a few chains. So let's go. So if you have any doubt, you really have to go to the bar, and right here it says 68 links. So it all matches up nice. So we're going to make a chain that is 68 links. When you count links, I put a little bit of soapstone on this one. So you count them, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So one of these side plates is 1 link. You got to make sure that the size of the chain and the gauge is right for your chainsaw. And this one is. Basically the size of the chain is the size of the links, and the gauge is the thickness of these plates as it slides through the bar. So you got to make sure they're right, because that would be no good if it wouldn't fit through the bar. So basically now we're going to count the links and then cut the chain. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so you mark the 68th link. You're going to cut and remove this link because your connector link is going to replace it. So then when it's all back together, you only have 68 links. So basically you got to grind off the end of the rivets. There's different ways to do this. They actually have chain brakes that you crank it and it pushes the pin out. That's probably the proper way to do it. But it always costs more money to buy all these things. And they have the same tool or another tool. If you turn it, it will round over the rivets nicely. See how nice and round they are? Perfect. So the idea is we got to use the grinder and grind this off. And you don't want your hands near here when you're trying to grind. It's bad news. So I put it in the vise, but you cannot tighten the snot out of these rivets down here with the vise because the link won't move freely. That is not good at all. So I just put enough tension on it to hold it so I can pull on the chain without having it flying around and anything. So I'm going to use a rag and a grinder, and I'm going to grind off. Okay, so now take your time. You don't want to be hitting these links. Just take your time grinding it off till it's ground off flat. So you take it out of the vise. What I end up doing is I will give it a little bit of a wrap, and then sometimes you can see the lines, not always. I find if you roll the chain up a bit, the chain doesn't want to have a life of its own. So you kind of set it and you have your vise just far enough apart that the link is going to go into the hole. So now you're going to have to find the center of the connector link pin and give it a little bit of a gentle tap here. Oh, there you go. So now we broke the chain. You get your chain and you lie it out on the bench. So now you get a connector link and a plate. So it's really important to make sure they're the right ones, like they didn't get mixed up in the package or whatever. And an easy way is to see if it matches up to the pins on this chain, and this is great. So there is a little groove here, and that goes towards the bar side, and that's really important. Make sure you put it on the bar side. Equally important is making sure that your plate for the other side is on the right side too. So what I end up doing is I have a nice hard steel bench. So I set my chain on the link. I set the other side of the chain on the link. So now it's setting real good. So you take your little side plate and make sure that this notch is down. So you make sure this notch is down and you set it on. And before you are flattening it, make sure you check to see that the notch is on the inside on both. So now I'm going to peen the end of it, and I find I use the flat end first and just give it a few little hits. So now the plate doesn't pop off. I go to the other side and I hold it down. Okay, so now it doesn't come off. It's peened enough that it won't come off. So now the object is to peen it slowly. So you just hit the end. Many hits. You don't want to go too crazy, because if you just hit it really hard, you're going to bend it one way or only peen on one side. You just take your time. And it kind of slips off and makes it nice and round to rivet. And you do a nice job. At the very end, I like giving it a few little taps. You never want to hit it so much that the link gets tight. But you want to make sure that that link's not going to loosen off. And right now, I'd say it's probably pretty good. There we go. So there is the connector link I put on. It's not as pretty as the machined ones, but it's pretty good, and it's not tight, so it's perfect. So we're gonna put it on the chainsaw.